It began with a phone call that sounded simple and diplomatic and harmless, the kind of call that usually disappears into history without leaving a trace, except this one did the opposite. A single video call crossed continents, and suddenly borders that had held for decades began to shake. Old wars whispered back to life, and a quiet region at the edge of the world became the center of a global argument. A flag appeared on a museum wall in Hargeisa. People poured into the streets celebrating, and at the same moment, thousands of kilometers away, another nation felt its sovereignty tear open, like a wound that never healed. Somalia watched a part of itself be named something new by someone else. Leaders spoke of aggression, of violation, of lines that should never be crossed, and their words were heavy with the kind of history that does not forgive easily. The land called Somaliland had broken away long ago through blood and civil war, had built its own institutions, its own currency, its own sense of survival. But it had never been allowed to become fully visible in the world. Now it was seen, but the light that revealed it also burned. Recognition, it turned out, was not just a gift. It was a weapon shaped like legitimacy. In Mogadishu, the language was of sovereignty and law, and territorial integrity, words that sound abstract until you realize they mean who belongs where, who has a voice, and who is allowed to decide the future of millions of people. In Hargeisa, the language was celebration, relief, the end of isolation, the feeling of finally being named after 30 years of waiting. The same moment meant dignity to one side and erasure to another, and both believed themselves to be right. But beneath the official words was a deeper fear, one that had nothing to do with flags or borders and everything to do with displacement. Rumors moved faster than diplomats. Whispers spread that this recognition was not only about Somaliland, but about Gaza, about people being pushed from one land into another, about history repeating itself in a new shape. Leaders denied it, condemned it, warned against it, but the idea itself refused to disappear. Once a possibility enters the world, it changes the way people look at every move of power. Across Africa and the Arab world, voices rose in warning, in rejection, in fear of precedent, because borders in that region are not just lines on maps, but scars from colonial decisions that never healed properly. To change one is to remind everyone that none of them are truly safe. And so condemnation spread, not only toward the decision itself, but toward what it represented. The idea that a powerful state could rearrange the political geography of another region with a phone call and a press release. Even in places far from Somalia and Israel, people felt it, because the story was not only about Somaliland or Gaza or Mogadishu or Hargeisa. It was about who gets to decide the shape of the world and who is forced to live inside those decisions afterward. It was about how power travels, how recognition can liberate and destabilize at the same time, how a single diplomatic act can echo into conflicts that were never meant to be connected. And so the world reacted, argued, condemned, celebrated, warned, denied, and promised, while the ground beneath it quietly shifted. New alliances were imagined, old wounds reopened, future crises quietly prepared themselves in the background. All of it began with a phone call that sounded simple and diplomatic and harmless, the kind of call that usually disappears into history without leaving a trace. Except this one did the opposite, because it reminded everyone that borders are fragile, power is never neutral, and recognition is never just a word. And somewhere, even now, another call is probably being made.